The White House has denied that U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff did not use his personal or government-issued phone with him during a recent Russia visit. Now, the clarification came after it was reported that Witkoff was in Moscow when he was added to that group on Signal, on which information about the U.S. plan to bomb the Houthi targets was shared. Witkoff was one of the top officials in a Signal group chat called Houthi PC Small Group, which also inadvertently included the Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg. CBS has reported that Witkoff was in Moscow while the group chat was active, citing data from flight tracking website Flight Radar 24. As per the report, nearly 12 hours after Witkoff arrived in Moscow on the 13th of March, he was added to the chat. Witkoff met with Russian President Vladimir Putin and other Russian officials during his trip. Witkoff's location, while being part of the chat that inadvertently shared secret attacks, the plans for those attacks with the reporter have further raised concerns about a potential national security nightmare. U.S. government had previously warned against the use of Signal for sharing classified information, warning of Russian hacking attempts and security lags. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that Witkoff did not have a personal or government-issued phone on him during that visit to Russia. She said that the envoy was provided a secure line of communication by the U.S. government, and it was the only phone he had in his possession while he was in Moscow to meet the Russian president. Meanwhile, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has claimed that the Signal messaging app comes pre-installed on government devices. She said that the guidelines issued last year had called for highly targeted individuals to use only end-to-end encrypted communications. She mentioned that Signal was mentioned as one of the examples of such encrypted apps.
In December of 2024, CISA stated, quote, "We strongly urge highly targeted individuals to immediately review and apply best practices provided in the guidance to protect mobile communications, including consistent use of end-to-end encryption." And they named Signal as an app as an example of such an end-to-end encrypted messaging app.
President Trump told Fox News that he would ask Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to review what kinds of information should be classified. He was responding to a query related to information shared on the Houthi chat. When asked whether he would ask Hegseth if flight times and sequencing should be considered classified, Trump replied that he would consider it.
Other entities that
As the Trump administration expands its immigration crackdown, U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem visited El Salvador's terrorism confinement center, where hundreds of Venezuelans have been deported from the U.S. under contested grounds. Now, during a visit, Noem toured the prison along with El Salvador Minister of Justice and Public Security Gustavo Villatoro Funes. Standing in front of a cell of inmates who were stripped to the waist to reveal their tattooed torsos, Kristi Noem recorded a message telling others that they risked the same consequences if they come to the United States illegally.
And if you break a crime, this is one of the consequences you can face. First of all, do not come to our country illegally. You will be removed and you will be prosecuted. But know that this facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use if you commit crimes against the American people.
She said that El Salvador facility is one of the tools in the toolkit that U.S. will use if they commit crimes against the American people. The El Salvadoran mega prison is in the public eye after President Trump invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act on March 15th to swiftly deport alleged members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, which has been designated as a terrorist organization in the U.S. While relatives and lawyers for several of the migrants say they have no connection to the group, U.S. handed 238 Venezuelan men over to Salvadoran authorities. And this is despite a U.S. district judge blocking the deportations following a legal challenge by the American Civil Liberties Union. According to the White House, U.S. paid El Salvador around $6 million for the detention of the deportees. Kristi Noem's visit also includes a meeting with El Salvador President Nayib Bukele and a visit to Colombia and Mexico as part of her regional tour. Noem said earlier that she would discuss how the U.S. can increase the number of deportation flights and removals of violent criminals from the U.S. Ahead of Kristi Noem's visit to El Salvador, hundreds of Venezuelans took to the streets of the country's capital of Caracas, demanding the return of migrants sent to El Salvador as part of a U.S. deportation operation. Dozens held signs and shouted slogans calling on El Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele to send their loved ones home.